You know what no one really tells you about unmasking? It's not dramatic. There's no big moment where you suddenly become this bold, fearless version of yourself. It's quieter than that. It feels like a pause, a small pause. And inside that pause, you realize something that changes everything. Oh, I can actually have a choice here. Not a dramatic choice, not a life blowing up kind of choice, just a small, honest one. And once you see that you have a choice, it's very hard to go back to pretending that you don't. Today, we're talking about what happens when you stop performing and you start choosing. Welcome, everybody, back to the Soul Talk podcast. I'm Mary Beth Rim. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm a coach. I'm a runner. And this is week 9 of the Living Unmasked series. If you're new here, I'm really glad you found your way here. This series is about what happens when we stop living from survival patterns and start living from alignment, not perfection, not reinvention, not transformation, but truth. And before we go any further, if these conversations resonate with you, I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button to my YouTube channel or follow the Soul Talk podcast on any of your favorite podcast sites that you listen to. It helps this work reach more people, and it keeps this community growing in such a beautiful way. Okay, let's talk about choice. See, most of us don't realize how much of our life is lived on autopilot. We say yes because we always have. We explain ourselves because it's safer. We take responsibility for everyone's emotions because that's just what we do. And we call it personality. We say that's just who I am. But here's the truth. A lot of who we think we are is who we had to become. The mask wasn't weakness. It was adaptation. It helped us belong. It helped us succeed in a lot of ways. It helped us survive. But the problem with autopilot is this. When you live automatically, you don't feel your choices. You just keep moving. And unmasking doesn't suddenly give you answers. What it gives you is awareness. And awareness can feel unsettling because now you can feel when something isn't aligned. And see, there's a quiet discomfort of awareness. This is the part no one talks about. When the mask loosens, life doesn't explode. It gets quiet. And in that quiet, you notice, I don't actually want to say yes to that. I'm tired. I don't need to explain myself right now. And the first time you don't perform that old role, it feels strange, almost exposed, not unsafe, just unarmored. See, I remember moments in my own life where I realized I wasn't choosing. I was complying. I was over functioning. I was anticipating. I was smoothing things over before anyone even asked me to. And when I stopped doing that, even just a little, I felt two things at the same time. I felt relief and I felt fear because performance keeps things predictable. Choice changes the entire rhythm. And then there's the power of the pause. Unmasking gives you something incredibly powerful. The pause. And the pause is where your life changes. Because when you pause, when you take a step back, you feel your body, you feel your breath, you notice your shoulders, you notice if your stomach tightens when you say yes, you notice if your chest softens when you say no. Choice lives in that awareness, not in drama, not in big announcements, but in quiet regulation. Sometimes the most powerful choice sounds like this. I'll get back to you. I need to think about that. Or not today. That's it. Small sentences. But they shift the nervous system from reaction to intention. And that's where freedom begins. What alignment actually feels like? Well, here's something really important. Aligned choices don't always feel exciting. They often feel calm. There's a steadiness to them, a groundedness. It's not adrenaline. It's not urgency. And it's not proving. It's just quiet clarity. And if you spent your life confusing anxiety with passion, that calm can feel very unfamiliar. As you might think, shouldn't I feel more sure than this? But certainty isn't loud. Alignment is steady. Living unmasked means learning the difference. How do we let our old reflexes fade? As you start choosing instead of performing, certain reflexes soften. You stop over explaining. You stop feeling silence. You stop managing everyone else's discomfort. You also don't rush to rescue. You don't automatically say yes. And sometimes people notice. Sometimes they don't like it because the version of you they knew was easier to predict. But this isn't about being cold. It's about becoming honest. And that right there is a very big difference. So here's a gentle reflection. So let me ask you something. Where are you reacting instead of choosing? Where are you moving from habit instead of alignment? If you slow down this week, just a little, what might you notice? What does a true yes feel like in your body? What does a protective yes feel like? And what would it look like to choose yourself without making it dramatic? Just one moment at a time, one pause, one breath, one honest response. That's how unmasked living becomes real, not by changing your whole life overnight or in 30 days or less or however long people have said that you can just change, because change is over time, but by choosing differently in small, regulated ways. And that's how you live unmasked. Now, if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel or my Soul Talk podcast, next week we're going to talk about how to stay connected to others without slipping back into performance. Because unmasking isn't about isolation, it's about integrity. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for doing this work. And thank you for choosing yourself, even in small ways. Until next time, I'm Mary Beth Rim.